All right, guys, this week we're kind of having a review. It's called Everyday Uses of Math. Okay, so there's a little bit about, of course, buying things, measuring things with fractions and decimals, with compound, simple interest, and things like that. Okay, so these are all going to be a little bit different. Therefore, what I did is on Google Classroom where I attached the notes and stuff. Basically, there are no notes. It's just this. It's the homework, and then beside every question, I have a little bit of note to help you along with that particular question. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go through them and explain why I wrote what I wrote on there to help you out. Okay, again, one thing we talked about a lot was percentages. Okay, so he's buying this stuff. He has a coupon that's 10% off his entire purchase. Option two, 15% off one item. Which statement best represents the discount that will allow him to save the most money? All right, so over here I said find the percent of the number and then subtract that number from the price. What that means is that if it's 10% off, well, if the item is $10, you find what 10% of 10 is, which is $1, and subtract $1 from your 10. So $9 would be your final price. That's all there is to it. We did that a lot this year. Talk about the percent of a number. If it says percent off or a discount or a coupon, any of those things, of course, you're going to subtract from your amount. Okay? And there was your items right there at the bottom. Okay? Okay. The second one's pretty simple. Okay? It's talking about comparing a loan at simple interest compared to one that's going to be with compound interest. Okay, so on this one, all I did was write simple interest, I equals PRT, compound interest, A equals P, and then you got to take 1 plus the rate times the time. Remember, time always has to be in years. So if you're trying to convert months to years, then you have to divide by 12. So if it's 36 months, divide by 12, so that's 3 years. Pretty simple, okay? You just got to fill those in again. P is the principal, your starting amount. Rate is the interest rate, 3%, 5%. They're going to be something percent. And then time, like I said, is going to be in years. Remember with this one, with simple interest, when you find out your answer right here, the I stands for the interest amount you're going to have. The A for compound is going to be all the money together. So let's say that you have 4,000 principal. Well, your answer is going to be like 4,300 on this one. Up here, if your principal is like 4,000, your answer for your interest is going to be like 300. Okay, so make sure you know where you're finishing. It doesn't make any sense to have 4,000 principal and then you think you're going to pay the bank back $300. That doesn't make sense. You got to take the 300 plus the 4,000 to get your final amount that you got to pay to the bank. Okay. All right, make sure your answer makes sense. All this one is just a formula. Okay, you got to figure out which of those formulas is going to help you figure out how much money they have to make per hour in order to pay for living in Dallas. Okay, that's pretty much all there is to that one. There's not much else to it. Okay, that's why I put just make sure your answer makes sense. So whenever you, like even you can just work each of those out and see which ones make sense. Of course, you're not going to make like $500 an hour. You're not going to make $2 an hour. You're going to make somewhere between probably like 10 and 20 would be an average. It can be a little bit less, a little bit more, but that's a good range of what most people make per hour, somewhere between 10 and 20. Okay, so that's one way that you can do that one right there. All right, number 4. So this one lists all of her expenses. $800, $265, $150, $350. Okay, list all those. Then it says, what's the minimum hourly wage she has to make in order to pay for all those expenses? So I wrote over here your hourly wage. You can figure it out by the money you need, which is going to be all those added together, and divide that by the number of hours that you worked. Okay? So that's all you do, and that'll get you your hourly wage. Like I told you, most times you make between $10 and $20. Well, 3 of those are between that, and 1 is pretty close to 10. All right, so again, make sure your answers make sense. If you always do that, you always have a good chance of having the right answer, or at least getting rid of one or two of the possible answers when you have multiple choice questions. All right. This says they have a sale plan, which is a flat fee of 45 plus 5 cents per text. What's the maximum number of texts you can use for his bill to stay less than or equal to 600? So you need to set up, and when I put equation, I should have put inequality is what I should have put, because it says they're going to stay less than or equal to $60. Okay, so I really should have put an inequality right there. I messed that up. Sorry about that. But you actually set it up the same way. Okay, so again, just figure out which one of those actually makes sense when you're figuring it up. Okay, so just set up an inequality to try to figure that out. Okay, again, remember, you're going to have a constant, which is the 45. That doesn't change. What's going to change is it's 5 cents per text. So if you send 20 texts, that's like in 30 minutes for most of y'all. All right, you're going to do that. Then you got to take that plus 0.05 times the number of texts in order to get you to $60 or less, whatever. Okay. All right. Juanita wants to paint 3 sides of the fence. It's a square yard. Each side is 50 feet and it's 8 feet tall. So each part of the fence is going to be 50 by 8. So that's length times width. So 50 times 8, that gets you one fence, one side of the fence, but you got 3 sides of the fence. So you got to find the area of one piece of the fence, then take that times 3. All right, again, I'll put it as a note. She is painting 3 sides of the fence. Area equals length times width for one side, take that times 3. Again, these are all things you could use every day, almost. I mean, you're not going to paint a fence every single day, but I'm saying it's something you'll be good to know. You're going to go buy paint. If they pre-mix it, then if you don't use it, well, you're stuck with it until 5 years later when you got to repaint the fence, whatever, okay, or however good the paint is that you have. All right, you have a carton of milk. It's 8 by 4 by 3. So to find the volume, okay, volume equals length times width times height. All right, technically in the past we talked about volume equals area of the base times the height. Well, to find the area of the base, that would be length times width. Okay, so anyway, so find the volume, take 8 times 4 times 3, find that answer. And then it says, what if it's leaking at 6 cubic inches per minute? Well, so what do you got to do to figure that out? Okay, that's what I want you to figure out on that one. I'm not going to say what you have to do. Just know you got to find the volume first, and then if you're losing 6 cubic inches per minute, well, then how many minutes is it going to take to get rid of it? Think about it. Okay? Again, make sure your answer makes sense. And that's it for the first assignment. Okay? That's it for the first assignment. That's all there is to it. Okay? Again, daily uses for math part 2. It's the same setup. Okay? These are things you would go through every day. All right. So, this one says that Mara's going to get 30% off her entire purchase. And then Mashonda has 15 off a purchase of 50 or more. If they each want 65 in clothing, which of the following statements is most accurate? Okay, so again, there's not a number amount you got to find necessarily. All right, it's just who's going to pay more, who's going to pay less, whatever. So this time for my note, I said draw a picture with clothing prices on the items. Okay, so draw a shirt or draw a pair of pants and make up a number that fits what they can do, right? They have parameters they have to fit between. So draw you a picture. It's a thing we talked about all year long. Draw a picture to help you out right there. All right, Kate's throwing a birthday party. She needs 168 beaded necklaces. It's boxes of 12 for $13.99. So how much will she spend on the necklaces? Well, set up a proportion. Look at beads to price. Beads to price. Okay? Remember, on the top, whenever you do that, if you have 3 on top here and you got 6 on the top over here, well, 3 times 2 is 6. So on the bottom, if you have 12, well, 12 times 2 is 24. So 24 would be your answer. Okay? Just set up and put necklaces and then price. That's all you got to do. Okay? Just make sure you have all the necklaces on top, all the prices on the bottom, or vice versa. Just make sure they match up. We talked about that all the time. Make sure they match up. All right, Bryce's jar of coffee contains 72 tablespoons of coffee. If he uses 1.5 for his coffee and he uses the same amount every day till it's empty, well, how many is that going to take? Well, you're going to set up a division problem because you're going to have your total amount divided by the part. Okay? That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. All right, because you got to divide 72 into pieces of 1.5 is what you're going to be doing. Okay? Again, every one of these pages, it's on the classroom as well. That's what the notes are. There's no extra notes. There's just a note by each question, or else I'd just put every note we've done the whole year to put on there, which wouldn't be smart. So that's why I set up one note on each thing to help y'all out. Okay? All right, Faith, Cadence, and Ashland, they all ran. And it says, how much further did Ashland and Faith run than Caden? So they're set up 5 3/5, 1 4/5, and 4 1/3 miles. So again, when you're adding or subtracting fractions, you have to find a common denominator. That way, again, we're comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges. We can't compare apples and oranges. It doesn't make sense. Okay, we talked about that a lot. Make sure your answers make sense. Okay, so just do that, and then you got to answer what the question asked for. Okay, how much further did they run together compared to Kate? All right, the store's having a grab bag. Their bags are sold for $5. They at least have to have 10, but they shouldn't have more than 20. So you have 4 graphs down here on the bottom to show you what range of prices the bags have in them. All right, so again, I just think about the minimum and the maximum amount that you would use on these things. Okay, that's all you got to do. Think of the minimum and the maximum amounts. And that'll tell you what your answer should be down here below on the line graphs. All right, there's a helicopter. It's going around 600 spins per minute. Which statement is supported? Well, once again, you got to see it 600 per minute. All right, and so then figure out which one of those is correct. You can set up a proportion. All right, spins per minute. Spins on the top, minutes on the bottom, or vice versa, doesn't matter. But spins, if they're on the top on this side, they got to be on the top on that side. If minutes are on the bottom, minutes are on the bottom. Okay, so you got to do on that one. All right, so we have a circle graph. Okay, it's divided into percentages. And this is talking about Alan's activities in a 24-hour period. So I said the entire circle represents 24 hours. So if practicing drums is 5% of 24 hours, then you got to find 5% of 24. All right, the example I gave up here, all right, like sleeping. Sleeping is 35% of the 24 hours. So sleeping is 35% of 24. So I've got to take my percent, turn it into a decimal, 0.35, and then multiply it by 24. So 0.35 times 24 equals 8.4 hours. So 35% of 24 is 8.4 hours of sleeping. That's how long he slept. Which, once again, that makes sense. That makes sense. If your answer ended up being, 840 hours, well, it's hard to sleep 840 hours in one day since a day is just 24 hours. That doesn't make sense, right? Okay? If we keep going back to that, it'll save us from making a lot of mistakes. Again, whenever I go through, I make mistakes. Okay, I go through, go too fast, think about the next thing I want to say before I'm finished with working out a problem or something like that. So y'all don't do that either, okay? And then once you get to the end, though, I'm like, wait, this doesn't make sense. I ought to move my decimal, all right? Oh, I didn't move my, I didn't line up my decimals. Whatever it is, if your answer doesn't make sense, okay, go back and check, see what makes sense. And that was it. That's all there is to it. Okay, so again, y'all, this is all like a summary of a lot of things that we've done throughout the year. It's going from different thing to different thing, kind of like you would have had on the STAR test. Okay, they don't have a bunch of questions about one thing. It's a little bit of this, that, back and forth, all those things. Okay, this is the last lesson for y'all. Please, if you're behind a lesson or two, or 10 for some of you, get that stuff turned in. All right, I love all y'all. but y'all don't need to be in my class again next year. And y'all probably don't want to be in my class again next year. I want you to move on into 8th grade math. All right. For a few of you are going to go on to freshman math, to algebra. Okay. So take care of your business and get caught up on all your stuff. All right. Y'all have a fantastic day. If again, we're going to have our Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. I already sent y'all the link and the password. I'm so sorry those haven't worked out very good this year. Okay. Sometimes it's my fault. Sometimes it's Zoom's fault. Sometimes it's nobody's fault. I don't guess. I don't know. Okay. But just if you need any questions answered about that stuff, either email me or be in the Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. Okay. Hope to see y'all soon. Bye.